Welcome back to Kickback. My name is Ben Strasser. We are proudly presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk. We are at Hudson Public, and I'm joined by Will. Will, thank you so much for coming on to Kickback and sharing your story. You shared with me that back in 2024, you were actually hospitalized due to your mental health. Can you please share what that journey was like for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's a kind of long story, but I'll give the short version. I've dealt with chronic pain for 5 years or so now, probably a bit more. They diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And there's a mental element to that as well. And life can get pretty taxing. I had a very high pressure job, and we had a number of things that went wrong with our home as well that were adding up the bills. And at the same time, on my doctor's advice, I was recommended to go through a kind of testing process for ADHD. And so I went through that process. I don't know whether you should score high, but I won the test and was diagnosed with ADHD. And I started on some medication for that. And a lot of things started to make sense, like a clarity of mind, but also it brought up a load of stuff from the past as well. And added to the bills, the pressures of work, I hit a point where I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so after, I think, an argument, something along those lines at home, I said, I'm going for a walk. And I went for a walk and I just walked around. And I ended up messaging my wife and saying, I'm walking to the hospital because I think that's the best thing to do. And so I ended up, walking to Brantford General Hospital, where they gave me a very scary looking form. And I was put in the mental health inpatient unit. I was there for 10 days. So yeah.
Well, I think it's just incredible that you knew that was the best place for you to go in that moment. Can you share a little bit about what that decision process was like?
For sure. I think honestly, I was at a place where it was go to the hospital or do something much worse. And I have wonderful kids, a wonderful family, and a lot in life that is good. But I knew that my mental health was at a place where I wasn't making rational choices. I've suffered with various things to do with mental health for most of my life since teenage years. And I was aware that I wasn't in a good place. This wasn't like my entire worldview had changed. It was, you're at the lowest point and you're going to do something you regret, or maybe you won't get to regret it. So get some help. And I walked into the hospital and spent some time in not a good headspace, waiting to be seen, and then eventually saw someone who said, you need to come and get some rest. So.
Right. And how did that, was it a relief when you had that person come and say, you need some rest?
I think it was a relief for sure. It was a relief to know that I was in a safe place. And it was a relief to know that there were people around me who weren't judging me. They understood what I was going through. It wasn't a fun experience moving from ER up to the inpatient unit. Sadly, I wasn't a high risk at all. I wasn't deemed as a high risk, but they had no available beds on the low risk side, or the normal side, if you like. And so I was put in a high security, I'm just going to call it a cell because I can't think of a better word. And that really freaked me out. It was not a pleasant thing, cameras on the wall. And I get why they're there. It's a really important function. There were people who I found out who were dealing with very severe mental health issues that were aggressive and violent just down the hall. And for the first 36 hours, I was in that high security wing. And that was a really difficult experience, but also it was a place to really realize where I was and how low things had got. Thankfully I was seen by one of the psychiatrists there. He came in and said, why are you here? You're not high risk. This is very silly. And so I was moved that day. They found a bed for me. And then from that point on, I'm not going to say it was a wonderful experience because it wasn't.
Right.
But there were moments of real joy, moments of getting to know people who were going through similar struggles, some going through things that I would deem far worse. But we built, we built friendships. We built, a connection in where we were all at.
Right.
Some really, really hard stories to hear, but kind of great to be able to be together and help one another.
Right. Well, there's strength in community, right?
Sure.
And being maybe in like the everyday life, you can feel so alone because your feelings and what you're dealing with is so dark. Right. And to have people that can share a similar journey to you is incredibly powerful for something that maybe you're looking to navigate.
What I find, I don't know whether it's eye-opening, it's something like that. As I say, I've battled with mental health for many, many years, but I also am high-functioning, I guess you'd say. I have a senior leadership role in a fast-growing tech company. I'm responsible for a lot. And so people don't expect me to have issues because I'm just happy Will.
Right.
But what I realized from being with the people in that ward is everyone is battling something. And there were people that were dealing with, let's say, disorders, schizophrenia, whatever it might be. But there were also more than a few people who the pandemic had really hit. Someone worked in the film industry and he'd lost everything. And I won't go into more detail than that, but he'd lost everything. And he ended up there not because of a condition or an illness, just because he'd had 4 incredibly hard years. And I think so many people in the world have had 4 or 5 very, very hard years since the pandemic. And so that was kind of a turning point for me to realize, I need to fix myself, but I also want to help other people through their journey because it hits everyone in some way.
Right, and what happened after you shared your story? Because when you had shared a LinkedIn post that you had made, like sharing your story, what was the response like for you doing that?
It was a risky thing to post. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. It's a big part of my job, and I see many, many posts that are, what heart surgery taught me about B2B sales, and it's just people trying to get a reaction, trying to get likes. And I didn't want that. I wanted to post something that said, hey, I've been through stuff and I want others to realize that it's okay. If you're going through something, you can get help. There's no shame in it. And so I posted it without, I did think it through, but I was really kind of nervous after I'd pressed post. But then I'm very thankful to say I got some encouragement from quite a few of the very senior leadership in the company that I'm with, the CEO and the co-founder and head of marketing there. And so everyone was really supportive. I had so many messages from all walks of life, from people saying, you're so brave for doing this. Thank you, you've encouraged me to be bolder in talking about mind and mental health. And that's kind of how I try and live my life now, as a catalyst for people to open up.
Right, and for somebody that is maybe watching at home, on the bus, wherever they're taking this in, but they are struggling and they've maybe realized that they're starting to not feel quite like themselves anymore, what would you tell them?
I think get help and stop trying to do it on your own. I think that's the really important thing. I know quite a few people in my life. I'm going to be stereotypical, but as a man and as a British man, that British stiff upper lip is so common. And I know so many people that are very close to me and people that are more distant, especially from the UK, who are, I'm fine, I can do this on my own. You can't. No one's meant to deal with the stuff that happens to us in modern day life. And getting help, be it a therapist if you can afford it, or have insurance, or going to the hospital if you've hit rock bottom, or speaking to your doctor about it, there are resources available. It's okay. Don't make it a big deal. You need help, go get help. I think the next part of my story, obviously I was released from the hospital, and I still continue to have very low times for probably 2 months afterwards. found out a lot of it was medication related. I wasn't on the right one for my ADHD. But I ended up being referred for something called ADT at the hospital, which I always forget. I think it's called acute day treatment, something like that. The team will laugh at me for that. And so I ended up doing that. And it's a 6-week program. And my employer ended up giving me that time off paid, which was a huge blessing because I couldn't have done it otherwise. I did that program, and the program is really a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy and a few other things. And it was a huge change for me. It was like someone shook me and said, you've been thinking things wrong your whole life about yourself, about how others view you. You need to stop. And here's how you can get that under control. And that was a huge part for me of realizing that, hey, I'm not crazy. This is actually something that's been built into me from teenage years, possibly even earlier, based on the way the world judges people on being normal or having neurodivergence. And so ADT is a great thing, which again is available. There is a process involved, but there are ways to get on that program, and I recommend it for anyone. Honestly, I think it should be part of the curriculum.
Well, and I think that's something that comes up often, right? Is that we're not taught to deal with our thoughts and our emotions, and we really need to be. And I just want to thank you so much for coming in today, Will, and to share your story and your journey. And I'm so glad that you are on the other side and in here sharing and being vulnerable, especially as a man, being vulnerable as well. And Will, how has life changed for you after ADT?
I think it's changed in a really positive way. ADT breaks down its weeks by different themes. And so one week was conflict resolution, and I realized through that week, hey, I've been avoiding conflict my entire life and people pleasing and not thinking about what I want in life, but doing what everyone expects of me. And that was a really impressive week for me. And then there were lots of other weeks that covered a multitude of different topics. But I would say that first week was very important to realize that I was a people pleaser. And so I did something that didn't come naturally to me, which was to be selfish. And I remember when I first told my wife, hey, we've been through this and I need to be selfish, but it's going to be for the good of everyone. And she was like, well, you can't be selfish. Everyone needs to bend. Loads of people said that to me. And she's right. But actually, through me being selfish and prioritizing, okay, well, I'm going to meditate every morning now. And if I am overwhelmed by the day of work, I might not sit around the dinner table with the family that night. I might go and sit and put on some music on my headphones, whatever it might be. I actually took up crochet, and that really was incredibly helpful. There's something about the repetitive motions of crochet was life-changing. So take up crochet. But I think since then, I've continued to implement the fundamental changes that I learned during the course. And I still have bad days. I still have hard days. We're approaching Christmas when we're filming this. I'm exhausted and looking forward to a couple of weeks off. And I think knowing that I need to rest, knowing that I need to stop, and being selfish with that time helps everyone else, because if I'm able to look after myself, I'm able to look after others. The analogy they always use in various mental health scenarios is that mask, the oxygen mask on the airplane. Put your own on before you help the person next to you. So true. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. I'm a better employee.
You just show up for the world better, right?
So it's that's been really good. And then I've also wanted to take that passion for helping others with mental health into something more than just talking to people. And so I was very fortunate to be elected a board member for SOAR, which is formerly St Leonard's. And I'm incredibly passionate about the work they do. It's not only mental health, there's many other areas, but mental health is what really drew me there. And that is an incredible resource for anyone struggling. They have a crisis line that you can phone and get help 24/7 from a human being. They've got drop-in clinics and centres, and they also help with housing and justice and legal side, many other things. And being part of that, being part of something bigger, it drives me forward, because it's not just living to earn a salary, which is an important thing to do.
Right.
But I'm living to help others, and that's something I want to continue to do.
Right. And I always just so thankful and impressed by the individuals that have gone and dealt with and have hit the lowest of their low and have come back to whatever their new standard or new normal is. And normally, maybe not their first, but maybe second or third, is how can I help others?
Yeah.
How do I give back? How do I make sure that other people don't maybe go as deep as I did into that darkness?
Absolutely.
And I just want to thank you for that.
No, that's quite right. I think one key way is being a parent. I'll be open and honest and say that sometimes I wasn't the greatest dad when I was overwhelmed and I'd get angry. Never to any worrying point, but more snappy than I should be with my children.
Right.
And since my recovery, I've become a better dad. We also think that ADHD runs through our family, because it does happen that way. And so both of our kids are going through the process of learning, do they have ADHD? And we've normalized that.
Right.
It's no longer this weird thing that you have wrong with you. It's like, okay, your brain thinks differently.
How do you use that, right?
My daughter celebrates being weird, and I love that.
Yeah.
And so helping them to normalize neurodivergence, helping them to understand that it's okay to have a bad day and to be open and talk about it, will help them be better adults as well.
Right.
They won't have to face what I had to face, not because my parents weren't wonderful parents, but just because no one talked about that stuff back then. And
Well,
now we
think-
can.
Right,
So,
totally. And I think that there's so many more people that are unknowingly battling those things that are wrong with them, but don't necessarily have the name to be able to give it. So what did like that late diagnosis for you of ADHD mean for you?
It was so freeing because, so I guess there's two sides. There's the one side which is, oh, there is a name for the way I am. I'm not just some really strange person. My hyper-focusing on weird technology problems for weeks on end, that can be used as an advantage. Right. So there was this learning period where it was like, I need to just be myself, and I can use where my skills lie, and I can staff my weaknesses. So one way I do that is at work. I'm very fortunate to work for a forward-thinking company, and when anyone joins that company, they prepare a working with me document. And mine very clearly stated, I have ADHD. Please try not to book calls with me that are an hour long. I'm better to do 2 30-minute calls, or we can chat on Slack or whatever it might be. I'm much better with async communications. And people respect that. I also have had feedback that maybe my walls of text aren't always helpful. And thankfully we live in a world of AI where I can throw my walls of text in and say, can you make this sound like a normal person? And that's very helpful as well. And then I would say the other part of being diagnosed is the medication. Hey, look, pharmaceuticals get a bad rap. I've been on pretty much every antidepressant that you can think of since my teenage years, and none of them worked for me. They were all kind of made things worse. But once I was diagnosed with ADHD and put on the right medication, it's been life-changing. I have more capacity to focus. I'm able to be more engaged at work and after work because I'm not exhausted from trying all day at work to be focused. And I'm able to live much more as I want to be. And that is in big part due to the medication. And I view it as not something that's hyping me up or getting me high. It's I am lacking norepinephrine and dopamine, and I've never been able to produce enough of them, and this medication puts them back. So I'm able to function at the level, let's say normal, my normal. I'm able to function at that level, and that's been life-changing.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's great, Will, and I think that like bringing like kids into it, the fact of, you mentioned ADHD is a generational thing, and it's something that I've seen pop up in my friend circle recently, is there's a lot of people that are being diagnosed later in life and being like, holy moly, this makes a lot of sense, and it's really interesting to see that pop up, and I know that there's certain things that I've been told, and where I'm like, they're like of the checklist of
Yeah.
ADHD thing. I'm like, well, I checked that box,
Yeah.
that box, that box, and that box, and it's like, okay, so maybe that is what it
Yeah,
is, and then
absolutely.
how do you use that? And but then back to kids, I think that as individuals, like in our age group, as parents, we're doing a lot of work
Yeah.
and navigating and work on ourselves, like you said, being selfish, right? And
Yeah.
putting that work in. But with ADHD being a generational thing, you are creating a ripple effect for
Yeah.
your children
Yeah.
to normalize
Yeah.
that now they maybe don't have
Yeah.
20 years of
Yeah.
waiting to find out, oh, that's what I have.
Absolutely.
Right? You've normalized
Absolutely.
it now, and how much
Yeah.
further ahead will they be in
Yeah.
life because of that? And I just think that that's really, really cool.
For sure, and I like to think as a society that we are evolving our approach to mental health. Sure, it's not everywhere. There's still plenty of naysayers in the world, but as a society, I feel like it's more acceptable to talk about our feelings. I think for men it can be a huge deal, but I also think for women as well. Like, there's this: I've just got to keep going and hold everything together.
Right.
And so I think there's pressures on both sides, and we are starting to see that change. And I'm really hopeful for the future from that perspective. One thing I do want to touch on is that a lot of the conversation around ADHD is that, oh, everyone's got ADHD these days. And there's many people that I love in my life who say, oh, I'm a bit ADHD, or aren't we all a bit that way? And I don't believe that's true. There's a book called ADHD 2.0 by the professionals who actually wrote ADHD 1.0. They literally wrote the book on ADHD.
Yeah.
And they explain in ADHD 2.0 something called VAST, which I forget what it stands for.
Yeah.
But it's basically the symptoms of ADHD, but based on your situation and the stuff around you. And I do believe many people have that to deal with, but that comes and goes. It ebbs and flows based on what's going on in your life.
Right.
Fact is, we are addicted to screens.
Yeah.
We are 24/7 on, and so that's going to have an impact on our mental health.
Right.
And so I think not everyone has ADHD, but everyone has some way of processing stuff based on how much is in their face these days. And so, yeah, we try and enforce, like, hey, let's not be on a screen. Let's actually go do something with our kids and ourselves, because I work on a screen all day.
Right. And I mean, I noticed with Theo too. He's 5, and the moment that he's like not on screens, because he'll watch shows or whatever and do that. But the moment that he's not on screens, all of a sudden his creativity just flourishes, and he's drawing pictures and he's building things, and it's like you lose out on that if you're on screens. And like there's a time and a place for everything. But I've just really noticed that lately is that his creativity really does blossom the moment that he is semi-removed from a screen.
And I think kids of a certain age, so my son is 13, so what was that, start of the pandemic, he was 7, 8, I'm not good with numbers, but he's really grown up in a world where screens are everything. He did 18 months of Zoom schooling, he hated it, every single minute of it, and so that, I think, has changed how a lot of kids' brains work, that screens mean like engagement, and whether it's unpleasant for schoolwork or whether it's an escape because you can't leave the house. And so that's something that we're trying to retrain, because there were 4 or 5 years after the pandemic where screens were the only way to really relax. I mean, look at Netflix, they're doing pretty well because of it. So,
they're doing all right. There's a lot of Netflix lookalikes that popped up, right? Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Will? Or anything you wanted to leave the audience with?
There probably is, but I have ADHD, so I forget things a lot. But I would say just an encouragement that, if you're struggling, or even if you think you're struggling, like, just go talk to someone. As I've said, I'm a big proponent of getting help from people who know what they're doing. But if you can't afford that, or if it's not easily accessible, go talk to a friend or a parent, anyone. Don't suffer in silence, because so many stories end badly when people suffer in silence. And I've seen stories end well when people open up. And so that would be my encouragement. Go talk to someone.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate you taking your time to come and share your journey, and just thank you.
No, thanks so much for having me on.